wonderful intro of mine, but I would like to tell everyone that my intro is slightly more difficult now because if you all can see my name, I think many of you would have started making a good guess that I am a deadly combination. So I am Pooja Jha Nair, just that in front of you, and I am Pakka Bihari, born and brought up in Delhi, married to a Malayali. I settled in Andhra, which became Telangana. So I think that talks a lot about me and also the topic, what has been given to me. I was very happy to listen to some of the aspects which my last co-speaker was talking about. It's so wonderful to know that, yes, positive psychology is doing so much great. And what I'm going to talk about is also quite similar to that because I feel that before talking about artificial intelligence, which is becoming so much, a topic of talk nowadays, I think we need to really understand that how our own human brain is thinking. So I have given it my own very sweet word to it that theory of mind is nothing but software of our own human brain. What we are going to discuss right now is more about how does it develop, what it is, what makes it complex. So right from the childhood, where when a dad is asking over phone to a child that what are you doing, and the child keeps the toy in the hand and says, I'm playing with this, what the child is trying to actually indicate that child is thinking what I am able to see, my father is also able to see, though he is not present in front of me. Right from that innocent stage, theory of mind is actually developing to a stage where you are a grown up and you start assuming that you know what other persons are thinking. Yes, to some extent you are right, but many a times your assumptions actually are deceiving. They are not the real truth, and you become fool in certain situations. There is a very simple test which generally we use for our pediatric population to evaluate whether a child is actually developing theory of mind or not. This is called as an Ancilly test, and this test is basically with an explanation that this is Sally's basket and this is Annie and this is Annie's box. Sally puts her red ball in her basket and then she goes out, leaves Annie alone in the room. What does this Annie is doing? She is just shifting this ball from the basket in the box. And now what happens? When Sally comes back, where she should search for her ball. Do not get surprised. Very recently, I asked this particular test from a 45 years old professor. She is a parent of a child with social communication disorder. And immediately she said, oh, Sally should look into the box. I hope at least some of you, or maybe many of you, would have understood that no, Sally was not there when Annie actually changed it. It's you who know, it's not the person who was not present over here. You know, I think I would have been blind to this concept of theory of mind if I had not started working with children who are having social communication disorder. I realized that how easy it is for me and you to be so fortunate to understand what the other human being intends to do or what their body language and the words are integrated with. It was so difficult at the initial stage to understand why some children are saying A, B, C, D so easily. They are able to identify the colors, they are able to identify the numbers, the shapes, but why they can't call their own mother by addressing her mama or ma? What was so different in the speech of articulating A, B, C, D, or red color, rectangle, circle with that particular accent? What was so difficult to call a mother mama, who is feeding me, who is taking care of all the needs, whatever I have? And then about 10 years before, I had started reading about it, what we can do. And I'm so happy that 3G has picked up a topic like artificial intelligence. But I would really request all the participants over here, before making a robot, kindly make our own human children, help them to develop this theory of mind, which is missing. This is basically defined as ability to recognize, understand, infer other people's mental state, in their thoughts, their belief, their desires, their intentions, etc. And the ability to use information to interpret what they say. This is a process to make sense of their behavior, what they are doing, and predict what they would do next. Mind it, prediction. When you are able to predict in a given situation, that gives you a control, and you feel so much comfortable in that given situation. If you are not able to predict, you feel miserable. You feel as if things are just not going according to your way. I hope you would agree, if you are sitting in a group where people are talking to each other and they are just indifferent to you, you feel out of the place. You don't want to be part of that group. And if forcefully you have to be, you actually end up showing some of the other difficult behaviors in your own self. If I say theory of mind, there are main basic three simple concepts. I don't want to get into detail of that. This PPT can be shared with you all. The very first point is social cognition, also known as social thinking. I'm happy because there are many people who are working on this concept. This is a form of intelligence that basically allows you to interpret any of the communication which is happening in the social context. Second one is perspective taking. Yes, many of us, even we are so-called matured, working, independent people, we still do not know how to take the other person's perspective. And it was so wonderful to listen when Joel was asking that some of the participants have asked how to be happy. Wow, that's a real philosophical questions according to me. Like, if our perspectives are not right, if we are so much affected by others action, if we have not gained experiences in a very secured manner, definitely any action is going to affect us, and misery starts right from there. If social cognition and perspective taking are not in the right manner or not in the productive manner, yes, you are going to have mind blindness. We will understand this concept in a little more great detail. Social cognition, there is a beautiful acronym for that, I laugh. It helps you to initiate your language, because you look at other person, you start observing, you don't only pick up your speech, you don't only articulate ABCD, you actually articulate your emotional conversations also. Anyone has any answer that why a child would say or would have the speech for ABCD but wouldn't have the speech for the social talk? Because ABCD or the color or the concept of shapes, they remain same. There is no variability for that. But my mother, who looks every day same, but oh my God, she's changing her sari. She sometimes changes her jewelry also. Oh, this lady talks in different way at 10 different times. Look at her face, her expressions are changing constantly. So much of variation. What should I link my language or my speech with? That's why there are children with developmental disorders. You would notice that they are able to articulate so many things about factual information, but they do not like to address, or they do not utter by addressing their own mother as mama or their own daddy as father or as papa. L is for listening with I. That's very, very important. You need to do that. If you are not able to listen with the eye contact and all, it's not going to work out. Abstract and inferential language. Oh, I think I am still poor at that. So we have one child who is 14 years old, and mother told her very nicely right after Diwali that, look dear, why don't you share the sweet box with your neighbor, because we have plenty and we don't eat so much. And don't forget, she always shares with you so many other things to eat. So why don't you take the sweet box and give it to this neighbor? My girl took that sweet box and gives to the neighbor and says so sweetly, Auntie, we are not going to eat so many. That's why this is for you. She could not infer that her mother wanted her to be diplomatic and not to say the truth. I think many of us, we have done that. I do that. I do share, sometimes the a gift given by anyone, and I just pack that and give very nicely to someone else. Understanding perspectives, getting the big picture, and the humor. My kids, they don't understand humor. They don't understand that this person is just trying to tease me, and they take it very seriously, and they can get into a lot of other issues. Perspective taking starts with common space, thoughts about another person. Own thoughts are just the framework. You try to look at other things with your own experiences. There is no rocket science in that. We all understand this part. But yes, the successful person is the one who monitor their own frameworks and they try to modify that. If you are a kind of person who is trying to get fixated at one type of framework, and you want to apply it to everyone, definitely you cannot be a person who will have variability or very easy adjustments, which we generally make on our day-to-day basis. If you have that, then you actually end up developing your very first concept, that is yourself. Let's look at this tiny video.
अच्छा रुक जाओ, काव्या कहाँ है?
Such a cute and a quick video. By the way, that's my daughter. She's now 1 year old. She was about 7 months, and I was struggling very hard with about a group of 27 kids who are not able to respond to their name even at the age of 7 years. What is so different? Why Kavya could identify that this body has a name? Only because she has certain things which is going fortunately right with her in terms of joint attention, in terms of certain other steps. And let's look at those steps, how it goes on. By the age of 12 months, generally children, they start understanding that someone else are attending to something, to the same thing, which is joint attention. And that's why if I look there, the child automatically turns and tries to see what the adult is looking at. There is also known as something 3-point attention, which is when two people are talking, child may look at the first person, the second person who is listening, and then comes back to the first person. Such a small thing, but it develops. Read people's action as directed at goals and as driven by desires. By the age of 1.5 to 2 years, children, they learn how to test the thresholds for adults. By 2 to 3 years, pretend play would become very, very complex. They know how to pretend in a very beautiful and fine manner. They begin to understand that they are different from others. 4 years to 7 years plus, that's the age group when the theory of mind, we say that is kind of full-fledged developed. People's mind contain different sets of information based on their own experiences. They learn how to manipulate others' mind through their own action, and they are aware of how others might try to manipulate them. Like a 4.5-year-old child, if he takes his costly toy outside, he would be so much clear that he doesn't want to share that at any cost. And even if he shares, he would be so careful that how others are playing with that. They know how to manipulate. They become more empathetic and responsive for the needs of other people also. In fact, they also know how to anticipate. Now, anticipation in a very crude way starts even before age 1. A very simple example, if I give you, if I extend my hand to a baby to hold her, the baby lifts the body and comes in anticipation. We all play very small games with children where we pat the hand and then we start crawling. The baby knows now that you're going to tickle, and the baby anticipates and crawls back the body. We need to see all of these in a baby when they are developing. What may go wrong? Why are we talking about this? What is so important about this? If the theory of mind is not developing, then my child will not understand what are other people's feeling. There would be inability to take into account what other people also know. The child would always think that I know and that's the only truth. Inability to negotiate friendship by reading and responding to intentions. So we have many kids who come to us just for the reason that they are not able to adjust if their own best friend is talking to anyone else. They immediately start getting into lot of conflicts because of that. Inability to read listeners' level of interest in one's speech, inability to detect the speaker's intentions, what they mean basically, inability to anticipate what others might think of one's own action, and inability to understand even the misunderstandings. The same child who went to, you know, give the sweet box to her neighbor gave me a very big life lesson one day. She comes and sits with me and she talks in a very robotic manner. She's a very intelligent girl though, and she talks like this: Pooja auntie, why my mother does not want me to interact with my grandmother? I understand she does not like her mother in law, but my grandmother has not done anything wrong with me. I was quite touched by that dialogue, by that clarity. So I hope you all can imagine that how things can be black and white, but we so-called regular and normal human beings, we live in that gray area. We like that. Inability to deceive or understand deception, inability to understand the reason behind people's action, inability to understand unwritten rules, which are just learned by our experiences. Baron has done quite a good amount of work in that. I would really request all people who are working with children, or even when you are working with your clients in the therapeutic environment, do consider theory of mind as your main concept. I cannot go forward until I don't talk about what I gained in the last 10 years. As we know that mind is bundle of experiences. Whatever I am today or you are today is only because of your experiences. That makes you different or that makes you unique. These experiences, if they are not created in a right way because of any reason, whether it was your environment, whether it was your circumstances, anything you say, but this is what going to create you as you. Yes, not a big thing, but in autism spectrum disorder, experiences are limited due to poor social observation skills. The software to understand this world around us or to function in this world is not developed or is not age appropriate. They do not know how to see others' perspective, how to know that others do not know what I am thinking until I speak, until I express. They do not manipulate. They do not know spoken words have two meanings, and literal meanings can sometimes hurt others. We are lucky to have that basic software of social thinking developed in us without even our conscious effort. But even me and you, we have learned it through experiences. So you can create a robot with it, even a human being with it. How can you do that? I have kept a female's picture over there. Not that I do not like males. No, I do like them a lot. But for sure, females can create more experiences for a growing child. Create experiences. Please explain every possible thing to our children. Create experiences through your videos rather than putting them to any screen time. Can you make your own simple videos and can you show that to the child? Create experiences through verbalizing your thought. Do not assume that my child is watching me and can just think about it, can learn from this. Do verbalize, do talk about it. Artificial intelligence has different types, and I hope you all know that it does focus on how we think about our own thinking. Create experiences by playing on child's behalf. Do not always put kids together and then let them play. Do participate, because you can be the right model for children. Create experiences by making your own jigsaw puzzles. What I mean to say over here, take experiences of day-to-day life. Create your word jigsaw puzzles. You can create the puzzles of daily routine objects. Ask them to solve that. Create experiences by creating social stories. I think a mother does that. But if you will do it a little more in a systematic way, I think so many problem behaviors of so many regular school going children can be sorted out. Create experiences by making animals to do that social story and role plays that again helps the developing mind. You need to inculcate right from the beginning that things are changing. Change is the only constant thing. Our children, many a times, they do not like changes. Or a person who would have poor theory of mind developed, they wouldn't like change, they like sameness. That's why ABCD puzzle can be my most favorite game. I would like to do only that. Self knowledge that life goes on even with continuous changes. In fact, that's the growth. Understanding that things which are not in front of me, they still exist. They are not gone. Develop pretend play. Work on the knowledge of communication, not only communication. Just hiring a speech therapist and working on the articulation or vocabulary is not going to help. But knowledge of communication, that I need to communicate, there is a need or there is a motivation to communicate. Knowledge of secret, such a beautiful thing which creates surprises, which creates so many different human emotions. Knowledge of surprise, knowledge of humor. Do intentionally certain wrong things in front of them. Let them come and correct you. Develop or work on the concept of emotions. That's another very, very important thing what we need to have. Do all the daily routine things on daily basis, because I think we all know that everyone has practice effect, and that will make you a master. Disha, I would like to definitely take questions from this particular topic, because there are many things which we might not be doing intentionally, but creating a lot of your confusions, lot of problem behaviors. I hope many of us who have gone through this 2020 experience, where children were at home, suddenly our clinics are flooded with children who are having only difficult and challenging behaviors. Parents do not know what to do with that free time, how to create a structure when actually the structure is not existing. So I would be very happy to see if people have their queries and they would like to talk about that.
Yes, ma'am, we have one question. What's the mind and what is the brain? What the difference?
Okay, so I call brain as our hardware and mind is our software. So brain is same for almost all of us, but definitely how we use that brain to create our experiences is the mind. Disha, I hope I'm audible, Dia.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Ma'am, we have a question. Can you please give some ideas for developing tone? What is that?
Tom, theory of mind. Yes,
Okay.
basically theory of mind in young kids, you can start developing with the play. There are certain prerequisites which we should actually focus upon when we are already able to see that the child is not very social, is not having joint attention. I hope people could make sense of joint attention. Joint attention is nothing but when you look at something as an adult, the child is also attending the same thing. So joining into your attention. And there are wonderful, tools and equipments available. Actually, there is something called Tommy, Theory of Mind Inventory. It is freely available online. Because of lockdown, I think they were so sweet that they actually floated the whole book. It's a beautiful book which is giving you so many ideas. How do you play with children to develop their perspectives? For example, it has a pic, a statue is there, and a child is standing over here, and another child is standing over here. Now they just ask the child what this girl is able to look at. Okay? And let me tell you, when my children they see at who are having certain difficulties, they always say that the child is able to see this part. Why? Because they as a child are able to see at this part only. So changing the perspective, first of all. We can have lot of pretend play. Pretend play not only with the kitchen items, not only with the dollhouse, but just with the parents playing hide and seek. Hide and seek is it's a perfect thing to start with the theory of mind game. Object permanence. It's a technical term, and I hope many of you would definitely know about that. Object permanence is a beginning that whatever is not in front of me also exists, and that gives lot of scope for developing theory of mind. More complex is you as an adult. I think we try to influence our children a lot just with what we are thinking or what we believe in. We do not give any scope to our kids to generally. I am not trying to generalize that concept, but most of the time, what I have seen, if a parent thinks about something very strongly, they want kids also to believe in that. But we never know if that is going to be right for this growing kid or not. Share your experiences, but doesn't mean that you need to bound them. Yes, if a child fails, I do share with them my own experiences that what did I do when I was failing? How did I attribute it? How did I cope up with myself at that time? How crying is not always a very bad thing. So sharing experience is different, but convincing someone because of your experience is something which is not expected when you want to develop an independent personality. Other things can be, if you can get into the levels of hide and seek, I think I can explain you that. For example, with a young kid, when you are hide within the room just by covering your whole body with a transparent dupatta. Later, you can go for non-transparent bed sheet, very gradually hiding behind the furniture items within the same room and calling the child's name. Next level can be you can hide in another room, but is still calling the child's name. After that, hide in another room, but do not call child's name. No clue at all. Then you teach child also how they should hide themselves without giving any kind of clue. You might have seen my kids when they are actually getting into this kind of play, they would hide, but they would keep talking. They would keep making noise because they don't know what would be this concept of being totally hidden or surprise. Yes, Disha, would like to take another query.
Okay, ma'am. So my
Yeah.
son on autism spectrum do not like if I talk to my parents or his cousins and he get anxious. What should I do for this? This is the next question.
Anjali, please ask once again, dear.
Yeah, my son on autism spectrum do not like if I talk to my parents or his cousins. He get anxious. So what should I do for this?
Very simple thing. Please create pictorial social stories. I do not know if the child is verbal, but definitely social stories is going to help this child a lot. So create a story in which mother talks to the child as well as to other adults or other children. My kids, they feel anxious only when they are not able to predict things. When they feel that whatever is happening around me is not something which I am aware of. If you make them aware, they start becoming very comfortable. Carol Gray has written a beautiful book on social story. I would really suggest that parents should read that particular book. See, when I say that you need to develop this human software, It's not going to be easy. I am not denying that part, because me and you, we learned just by random observations, and we learned so much. Now I know if Disha is smiling, what does that mean? I know already if people are writing something in the chat box, how it should impact me. So much of learning has gone in. But if I ask you that you need to develop this artificially, yes, we cannot be God or whoever is the Almighty. We cannot become that. It would be always limited. I'm not even denying that. But you make my child's life very easy. Make pictorial stories. Try to focus on what is supposed to be done. Do not try to focus what is not supposed to be done. I'll give you a quick example, and I hope Anjali, this parent, would get an answer. So about 2 years before, a child whom we were dealing with, mother comes and tells me, I cannot take this child to any of my get-togethers. Oh my God, he throws things, he keeps running around. It's miserable. I said, okay, done, ma'am. We are going to write a social story for you. We will do a lot of practices with you, and then I want you to try that out. So we did that in our process, and this mama comes back after 3 months for our review and tells me, what did you tell me? No change at all. He is same miserable boy. I said, please, can you show me what did you do? Yeah, I made my child sit and I told him, we are going to a party. You will not run around. You will not be doing anything wrong, whatever you know about. What my child remember now? Oh, running around is the recent topic in my mind. And mother was focusing that I should not throw. So whatever what the child is not supposed to do, the mother was trying to remind only about that. What the child is supposed to do, that she was not reminding. I asked her that we had written certain stories for you. Ma'am, do you think I can remember those stories? I said, sure, let's practice. Let's practice one more time. But social stories can do wonders. It can really calm down the child. It can really give a next level of control to the child, because it's a human child what we are talking about. We are not talking about any machine. This child needs to feel comfortable and not anxious in all the situations. I hope I could answer.
Yes, ma'am. We have another question.
Yes.
How manipulation affects psychology of the child with respect to their personality?
First of all, I don't know how they are defining manipulation, but yes, manipulation is a very important skill. Very important. In fact, we do train our kids how to manipulate to some extent. Now, suppose if we are talking about manipulation as done by a child who is very sharp, very intelligent, and he's always manipulating just to get his demands fulfilled, it's going to create definitely a personality who would be very dominating, and who would know that by hook or crook, I should just get my demand fulfilled. But if you are able to manage this manipulation in such a way that the child knows how on day-to-day basis they need to adapt. For adaptation also, definitely you do manipulation. How on day-to-day basis you're going to use these manipulation for their own betterment. It's not going to harm anyone.
Absolutely, ma'am. We have another question. They are asking for what can they do for anxiety?
What kind of anxiety there are?
What
Like,
can I do for anxiety?
okay, whoever has asked that question, can we ask them that, is it generalized anxiety? Is it the fear factor what they are talking about? Because if it is really an intense anxiety, we do need medical support also. If it's just an anxiety which an adult feels by getting into a new situation and all, definitely prediction, social stories, theory of mind, all of these things are going to help them a lot. If suppose we are talking about just a so-called normal adult who is anxious in all the situation, very simple activities will help them. First of all, if I am anxious right now, I cannot solve anything, and I must accept that. I can do deep breathing. I can focus on my thoughts. I can just sit, relax for some time, and then get back to my problem. Because if I am really tensed about certain things, I cannot really resolve any of that conflict at that given moment. We definitely need to know that we are talking about what situation is specific.
Okay, ma'am. So, yeah, we
I
have few more questions if you have time.
oh yeah, I do have another 10 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. So, consistency is a barrier to any relationship. How do we keep ourselves motivated, or rather than find incentives in keeping a relationship alive, even when we are aware that of the dwindling bond? That is the question.
Wow, lovely question. Lovely question. I think, if we all are clear that why we are in a relationship, many of the questions can be answered immediately. Okay. So, I won't mind giving you my own example. I told you all that I am Bihari and married to a Malayali, deadly combination again. Whenever I was deciding to get into this relationship, I definitely sat with myself and I asked, why do I want to marry this person? Or why I would not like to get into this relationship? When my reasons increased for getting married with this particular man, then I decided, okay, even if he does all this negative, I need to remind myself that you married him only for this. Okay. I think this applies to all of us because when we are, yeah, love is a spirit and love is blind, true. And no doubt I was biased. But then now, whenever we get into fights, by the way, my husband is also a psychologist, Rajesh Nair, and guys, all our fights are very big psychological fights. But I always revisit to the same thought. So let's say you are already in a relationship and you never did such kind of homework that why I want to get into this relationship and all. But certainly you can be now doing this exercise and ask why I want to move forward in this relationship. Kindly don't increase the divorce rate after my this particular talk. Okay. So if you are clear that why you are into this particular relationship, then all the negativities would start looking little minor to you. Please, it doesn't mean if the person is physically abusive to you, alcoholic, and not taking care, then you don't have to ignore. Or not even that, you have kids and for him you have to stay. No. Let me not become biased by talking about relationship just about husband and wife. I think relation of child and mother, we need to pay attention to even that. We are so much busy nowadays just for taking care of their daily needs that we are forgetting that it's okay if the child has not eaten one time in the day, but it's not okay if you have not spent some time with your child. It is not at all okay if you couldn't talk to your child or play with your child. Because don't forget, you are the first agent as a mother, as a father, to create this theory of mind. I'm not trying to say that theory of mind is the whole thing, just because artificial intelligence has also come into the picture. No. But theory of mind will give a secure personality to a child. This is a simple tool which you can develop, which you can manipulate, which you have control with. I'm once again trying to repeat, do not influence your children because of your own past, because of your own experiences. Try. Try if the child can create something on his own. Be there to save your child. Be there as a best protector. But do not try to create the shields always. That's not going to help. So, as far as relationships are concerned, I really believe that if you are very clear that what your perspectives are and you are going to give certain space to the other person, you would really live happily.
Wow, lovely answer, ma'am. Whenever, when you started talking about relationship, our chat box is completely full, and they all are agreeing. They are telling that we are so blessed to have you as a speaker. Thank you so much for that beautiful description, ma'am. And I really love the
Okay.
way you were telling about relationship. It's your professional experience mixing with your personal experience, and even I am from Kerala, so I'm very glad to
Wow.
know that. Yeah, your
Okay.
husband is
So
from there.
Anjali, meet me after the session. All the bad words, whatever to Ragesh I want to say, I'll tell you.
Sure, ma'am. So it was a like no, it was a privilege having you here as a speaker. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for sharing that insight with us. So like no, our chat box is completely bombarding with messages. A lot of appreciation is coming up. Thank you so much, and thank you participants for sharing your opinions as well. So to value
So,
your time, we have
so
a
Anjali, I would really request you, you already have the PPT with you. I won't mind if people would like to have that few, but there are points which they can use. I just want to conclude with this. First, you be secure. Okay, this term is very strong. If you are secure, you don't allow others to affect you. You do not allow others to decide what you want to do, and you do not do wrong things which is
exactly.
inappropriate, which is not social. I'm not saying that we have to go only by norm based behavior, but whatever you do, you are able to sleep in the night then with that. So develop your own secure self. You will definitely develop other secured relationships.